Well, security has been significantly tightened in Iraq's capital, Baghdad, amid escalating regional tensions. Heavy military movements have been reported inside the city's heavily fortified Green Zone, which houses the U.S. Embassy, key Iraqi government institutions, and several foreign diplomatic missions. While officials have not yet disclosed the reason for the heightened deployment, the increased military presence comes against the backdrop of rising hostilities across the region following the latest exchanges involving the United States and Iran. General Sanjay Kulkarni, defense expert, with us on the broadcast to talk more about this. General Kulkarni, how are you looking at this conflict once again escalating? Last week it seemed that the worst was behind us, but these two are back at pulling no punches.
Thank you, Vineet. I think that things are likely to go out of control for a very simple reason. The memorandum of understanding that has been signed, the very first point involved talking about Lebanon, and 3 times talking about Lebanon. We find that particular part is really under tremendous amount of stress and not being adhered to. Hezbollah probably feels that they have been let down and things of those kinds. And the third point talks about the Strait of Hormuz being open for 60 days. And it isn't even those 6 days that we find that things have gone totally out of control. And that was to be the point number 3 was very clear. 60 days that would be extended by consent. What to talk about the consent? The very fact that the Iranians have attacked a container with a Singaporean flag, I understand, get another one with a Taiwanese flag. So you find all these kind of things happening is indicated that the IRGC is probably calling the shots. To begin with, everybody thought that the entire memorandum of understanding would soon be converted into a ceasefire, which will result in the Strait of Hormuz not being weaponized, and obviously the whole world would see easing of tensions, with oil flowing, gas flowing, fertilizers flowing. But it hasn't happened because the IRGC seems to be controlling. What we thought was a memorandum of understanding in favor of Iran doesn't seem to have gone in favor of Iran, and even if it has seen, probably the IRGC feels it is fell out by Iran for whatever the reason. The IRGC desires to have a control over Iran, and that is why now you find that IRGC rather saying that for the next 30 days the Strait of Hormuz would remain with them. So obviously at initio the memorandum of understanding is null and void, because the Strait of Hormuz is to be kept open for 60 days, and if that is not being adhered to, and you find the Americans hitting at the bases of the Iranians all along the coastline, the retaliation by Iran on Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE condemning it, I think it's again back to square one. Until and unless either the Iranians need to give it up in the manner that they're doing, or the Americans have to accept that they've accepted kind of a semi-surrender to the Iranians, which the Americans wouldn't accept, because even though the weaponization of the Strait of Hormuz by Iran, and also probably they feel that Trump is under pressure for November elections. But I don't think so, because Trump's last election, I'm sure he wouldn't care whether Republicans come or not, but it is in the national interest. There are no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, and there are permanent national interests. America, irrespective of whatever it may be seen to be as if it's only a Trump war. It isn't a Trump war. It's the United States of America fighting the Iranians at this point of time, and no one, whatever it may be, they might have their own opinions or disagreements with Mr. Trump, but obviously it is not Mr. Trump fighting with everybody. It's the United States of America fighting with Iran, and if they find that their interests are not being taken care of, I'm sure the Iranians will get it back, and the Iranians also, by agreement, because it's an agreement in which 60 days the Strait of Hormuz was to be kept open, free of navigation, no toll collection, but and most of it, probably the Iranians may have got upset because these ships are flying closer to the Oman Bay, this thing, and all of the entry and exit is closer to Oman, and avoiding the Iranian side because of the mining and the demining not having been done. That probably is irking Iran, because suddenly they find that not coming closer to Iran, and despite that, this containers, ships, everything are passing through closer to Oman, where obviously the Americans call the shots.
So stay with us, some more breaking news coming in.